Well, thank you for joining us in the Lair again. It's where we talk all things Wildcat football.
Everything.
And I'm joined once more by my friend and co-host of this little show, Luke Davis, and I am LB Graham. We had a plan that we were going to film an episode that looked back at the Festus game and looked ahead at the St. Dominic's game.
Mm-hmm.
That show ran a little long.
Yeah, the singular episode was a bit much, so
we've decided to break this into two episodes. We're going to talk about Festus first, and then we will film a second episode and talk about St. Dominic's.
Sounds like a plan.
And since I was at the Festus game, I will give you the overview of the Festus game, the recap, and then when we go to the next episode, Luke has done some work researching St. Dominic's, will tell us
checking out the Crusaders. But as we can see, and those of you who were there on Friday night, LB, I know that you were. You can probably take us through that very well. You saw that with your own eyes. So starting out, tell us a little bit about how the offense looked. Very stellar, especially in the first half.
Yeah, it was a great way to start the season. A big win at Festus. Always good to win. Always good to win on the road. Always good to start the year with the win. And the offense looked really good. And you could tell on that first drive where they went over 70 yards in just over 2 minutes that it was going to be a good night. And the thing that stood out to me as I watched that drive, something we talked about on one of those preview episodes, just the dominance of our offensive line. How big they were, how big they are. They gave Evan time when he dropped back to pass the ball. They opened up holes for the running game throughout the half. And there was a lot of balance. We scored twice through the air. We scored twice on the ground. Evan threw passes to Logan Sells and to Zach Hughes, both for long gains. And we ran 2 touchdowns. One, a shorter touchdown that Steve Webb ran in to cap off that first drive, and the long touchdown.
The afterburner.
Right, that Dilla ran in 60-plus yards. He got out to the outside.
Insane.
And when it became a foot race, you knew it was over.
It's just not fair.
There aren't many folks who are going to catch Dylan when it's a foot race to the end zone. And it was a great half. And as great as that first half was, the second half was pretty forgettable. It was sloppy. And admittedly, the coaches were no doubt pulling back a little bit. Don't want to embarrass a team, especially on a night like that. But you would hope that the team would have better concentration. A lot of flags, a lot of penalties, and I'm sure they've worked on that this week to try to cut that back.
There were a lot of kinks to work off, and taking a little bit of the foot off the gas a little bit. You don't like to see that as a coach. Of course, you don't want to run it up and find the proper balance there. But like you said, knowing our coaching staff, it's obvious they've probably worked on that pretty strictly this week. While the offense had a stellar first half and let things off in the second, there's no doubt the defense was just an amazing piece of work all night long. So walk us through how our stop troops did.
And the defense had a strong performance all night, even when the score kind of got out of hand. As we talked about before off camera, it was 27-0 at the end of the half, which was the score of last year's Festus game. And it looked like it was going to end that way. It was that way for a long time, from near the end of the first half to almost the end of the game. The defense, until the last few minutes, didn't give up any points. And there were definitely some places where they could have folded and they could have done so.
After the kickoff return.
Festus had a long kickoff return on a broken play on special teams. The guy got through down the sideline, got all the way to our 21. They set up first down on our 21, didn't get a first down, didn't score any points. It was a great hold by our defense. All night long, our defensive line was causing fits for the Festus quarterback. He was very mobile, very quick, and if he hadn't have been, he would have been in a lot of trouble. He was running for his life quite a lot. Our secondary played a great game. We had 2 big, timely interceptions. The first one was Drew Melirano stepped in front of a pass and took the interception back for several yards. And the second one was Cam Tucker. Made a nice play on the ball, broke on the ball, made an interception, and both of those stopped what could have been promising Festus drives.
And Cam's especially, I remember seeing that on the footage film and just how he closed on it so quickly. It was obvious that the quarterback probably never saw him coming.
Did not see him coming. So all in all, a really strong defensive effort and a great way to start the season.
Well, you can't argue with that. A big win, getting us out of the gates on a good note, but we don't rest on our laurels, and you know that we've got a game coming up this week, the big home opener.
So when we come back next time in our next episode of The Lair, we will preview the game against St. Dominic's. Thanks for joining us.